I'd like to address a problem in the black community. Actually, if it was any other race or people, it would be an all-out national emergency. What I'm talking about today that's affecting the black community is the rate that we're going in 20 years. There won't be an African American community. I mean, fellas, look here. Let me tell you, we are disappearing at a rapid rate. Black on black crime is just preposterous. And I just want to tell you something. At the rate that we're getting incarcerated, 6.5 times higher than our white constituents. Do you understand what that means? You have 2,200,000 men in prison in America. Do you know over 40.2% of them are black? We have over practically a million black men in prison. That's astonishing. That's insane. And do you know? I just want to ask you something. Do you know that only 44% of us have something as simple as a high school diploma? Now we know that the unemployment rates in the black community is double that of uh, our white constituents. We know that at 16.9%. But that's not what I'm saying. We're not even educated enough. You have to understand, a large labor force is no longer needed. Those jobs have been outsourced. There's over 55,000 jobs, manufacturing plants have been outsourced. Those jobs are gone. That's about 5 million people. There's no need for it. We have to educate ourselves, and we can't blame the white man. He is not the problem. Let me tell you something. This gentleman told us a little story earlier today. At this specific plant is called GP. They wanted to hire they 3 people. They took 33 applications and they just stopped. The results were disastrous. Just for a scale operator, only 3 out of the 33 applicants were eligible for the job. And do you know, those three, those three failed the drug test. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is insane. It's the white man. No, it's us. It's not the white man. It's the black man. We have to stop this. Do you understand this? This is a national emergency. This is an all-out black emergency. If we keep going on this present course, there will, in 2 decades, there won't be an African American community. And I'm tired of hearing people blaming the white man. Do you know that? It's us. It's not the black people. I mean, it's not the white man. It's us. Do you know that in cities like New York, in the black community, the unemployment rate for men is at 50%? Do you realize that's insane? We're not feeding ourselves. We're not clothing ourselves. We can't even take care of ourselves. We're worse now than we were 40 years ago. 50 years ago, I'm sorry. Look at us. Look at the rate. Look at black on black crime, especially violent ones. We're shooting each other down in the streets. And remember, wait a minute, let me tell you something. The children that you young guys have, man, don't just get these girls pregnant and leave them. You don't know what's happening with these children. See, it's not a woman's job to raise a man child or any child on her own. And this is a very negative impact in our community. We have to stop acting like niggers and stop blaming the white people for something that we are doing to ourselves, because if we don't, we're going to cease to exist. The African American community as we know it now won't exist. This is preposterous. I just want to relate to something. I'm not going in the heels on somebody else's work, because I had part one, Crisis in Black America, We Need God. But the whole film, everything disappeared mysteriously. But another malfunction. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about now is like abortion clinics. Now, these parental clinics, well, that's the correct name of them. They're aimed at black folks. You know that. 80% of these clinics are in minority neighborhoods. You know the story of Margaret saying, well, never mind, we won't go there. Do you know from 1973 to 2012, over 18 million abortions have taken place in the black community? Do you know that? We are only 12% of the population. Do you know what 13 million? Do anybody tell you that there's strength in numbers? I don't care what it is. Life starts at conception. That's murder. 18 million. 3 times higher than white women. This is this is what's happening, fellas. When we bounce around and shooting each other down and got our pants hung down around our behind and following rap singers who could care less, we have got ourselves, we are going into extinction at our own hands. And we can't blame the white man. We have to wake up and be African Americans and stop being niggers. We need God. We got in our neighborhoods, we have mosques, temples, churches. Some of us say they're Jews, Muslims, Christians, Catholics, and everything, and we're worse off now than we've ever been. You have to ask yourself, is this God's will? When are we going to take responsibility for our own welfare? It's just like voting in the politics. We don't even know what we're voting for. We have no idea. We're voting for people on the basis of the color of their skin or what somebody else is telling us, instead of doing our own research. Don't you think that's sad? Look here, look. I'm black. You can tell that. Look here. I love black people. We can do it. Don't you know you were created in the image of God? When I use the term nigger, I'm not talking basically about a person's skin. I'm talking about the way that that person acts. You are an African American. Listen, young fella and girl, look. Before you get somebody pregnant, if you have a child, you be an image that that child can look up to, that they want to mimic in their life. You hug your child and you tell them that you love them, and you be a positive image. Don't let that child see you shooting each other down and selling drugs and standing around with your pants undone around your behind. And you know, it's bad. It has been said. Even Jesse Jackson said it when he was walking down the street at night and he heard footsteps. He was scared, almost scared to death until he found out it was a white person. That's ridiculous. It's a shame for somebody to go to prison. 9 times out of 10, you go into prison for stealing a few $100s or have a few $100s worth of drugs in your pocket. Do you know how many thousands of dollars to keep you in prison costs? What you're going to jail for is not even worth what you were doing. That's 9 times out of 10. And let me tell you something. Even the crimes are ridiculously stupid. Now, I don't want to even go into that. We know what we're talking about here. Some of the things are just preposterous. I mean, it's absurd what we have done to each other. Like I said, do you know what 18 million lives, grown people, positive figures in the black community go? That's 18 million people that's taken out of black America. Like I said before, do you know that we're only 12% of the population? Do you know it has been said that statistically, at one time, there's only 12 million people. And you take almost a million of them out of our community. Look at what's happened. I just want to tell you, look, we're better than this. Those of you who have children, you watch over your children. Tell them that you love them. Be positive figures. Be an asset to your community, not a liability. Let your elderly folks be proud of you, not terrified of you. You understand that this is a must for the survival of our race. Though I'm not racist, but we need God like never before. We have to be careful. We have to stop selling dope on corners. Stop shooting each other down. Help our elderly folks. Don't let them be afraid to go outside to the store, because ignorant black folks have made the neighborhood unsafe. And that's just not one neighborhood. That's everywhere we live. It's the same condition. It's the white man. No, it's not. It's you. You. We have almost destroyed ourselves, and we have to stop it. We have to ask the Lord to bless us and forgive us of our sin and ask Him to come into our life. That's the only way. You did everything else. We've tried everything. Look here, let me ask you something. I just want to say this and I'm finished. A. Philip Randolph started these marches. He orchestrated it. And for 40 years, ever since Dr. King, we've been marching for jobs and justice. 1965, we will march for jobs and justice. 20 years later, what were we doing? Marching for jobs and justice. The Million Man March, what was all? Even later, we still did just a few years ago. jobs, and justice. Do you understand? We have accomplished nothing. We have regressed. We're on the verge of extinction. Stop blaming white people for something they didn't do. Let's blame our. We have to take the blame. We are the cause, not the white man. All I'm saying is be careful. Let's join in unity. Let's pray. Because if we don't ask the Lord to help us, nobody else cares. You have to take responsibility.